Good morning to you. I am Mark Sudduth, and here's what's up in the tropics for Tuesday, the 12th of July, 2022. Still keeping an eye on this area in the northern Gulf Coast region. Not much chance of development with it. It could be a big rainmaker. Hopefully, a lot of that heaviest of the rain will stay offshore. We'll take a look at that in more detail in just a moment. Elsewhere across the Atlantic, not much happening, although, as I'll show you in a moment, I am keeping an eye on a couple of areas out in the deep tropics that, again, I'll show you in just a moment. In the eastern Pacific, we still have Darby out here, still a very powerful hurricane, well offshore of any land masses, so that's good news. And then we have this other area, a high chance of development off the coast of Mexico and Central America, a pretty good distance away, so no worries about any direct impacts. Looking at the satellite imagery of the eastern Pacific and the western Atlantic basin, there is Darby, again, well offshore. It was very powerful yesterday, reached Category 4 intensity, starting to weaken just a little bit now. Here's the disturbance to the east of Darby, off the coast of Central America. That too will go on to develop, probably become a hurricane. Conditions are just very favorable in the eastern Pacific right now. There's the system in the Gulf of Mexico there. A little bit more in the way of shower and thunderstorm activity this morning, but nothing really coming together to be too concerned with. Sliding the animation over to the east a little bit. These two areas out here in the tropical Atlantic, especially this one, are certainly worth watching over the coming days. If we look at the vorticity signature, there is some energy out there. Again, we're not in the best of phases for what we call upward motion, so these systems are kind of fighting against the grain to try to develop. There's the vorticity signature for our system in the Gulf of Mexico. It is not tagged an invest area yet, so it doesn't have one of those numbers and then the letter L. It's still rather disorganized and elongated, looks more like a bean than it does any kind of circular area of energy trying to come together. So again, this system out in the eastern Atlantic, I'm watching it, as are other people. Yakov mentioning it here in a tweet recently. These systems well out in the deep tropics, but it's interesting as he notes that even during the suppressive MJO, you still have, and the SAL, the Saharan air layer, we still have these two waves with decent spin or vorticity. I just showed you that. And some pretty deep convection associated with the easternmost system. And you can see in the GFS here, yeah, they do try to develop that pair of waves, the GFS trying to coalesce that energy and bring it together maybe for a brief tropical cyclone. We'll see. Maybe the National Hurricane Center will make mention of it at the 2 p.m. tropical weather outlook later today. We'll see. Now, if we slide the GFS over here and include more of the western basin, you can see those two tropical waves making their way eventually beyond about the 5-day time frame into the Caribbean Sea, perhaps, where they will encounter probably much more hostile conditions than they have right now. So I don't see too much in the way of impacts other than some squally conditions for parts of the islands. There's the system that gets going in the eastern Pacific. And you notice not much at all happens in the northern Gulf of Mexico with that disturbance. But all those yellows and oranges and occasional deep reds that you see, that is energy. That's vorticity or spin in the atmosphere. It just doesn't bundle and become rounded in nature and a tropical cyclone or anything like that. However, it could still dump a lot of heavy rain. Most of that is shown offshore in the quantitative precipitation forecast here over the next 7 days. But we'll see. You never know with these systems, especially if they are slow moving and they kind of mill around. You can pile up the rainfall in very short order. All right, that is it from me for today. Again, thanks for tuning in. This is Mark Sudduth. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.